everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. This night, we're talking about 1987's Return to Horror High, which I picked. So you're welcome, people who actually watched it. But we're joined with another guest who also, I know what his other option was. So I will very genuinely say you're welcome on this one. To Robert Bacon of 91 Donkey Lane.
Yay, thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Now, before we dive into the movie, for those of you who don't know, 91 Donkey Lane is on the exact same podcasting network as Horror Movie Night, the Geekscape Network. So, Bacon, why don't you tell us just a little bit about 91 Donkey Lane, and then we'll dive into the lovely George Clooney vehicle known as Return to Horror High.
George Clooney vehicle. Yeah. 91 Donkey Lane, it's a fantasy comedy podcast where me and my roommate, Nate, who are real-life roommates, we talk about real-life stuff, but also there's some fantasy elements of stuff thrown in. So, example, the very first episode, I'm mad at him for eating my food, and he's mad at me for finding a monkey's paw and using all the wishes. It's really stupid. It's really ridiculous.
It doesn't sound stupid to me. It sounds awesome.
It's easily one of my favorite podcasts right now. Yeah, it's so funny.
Thank you.
Before you came on, we were reminiscing about the time capsule episode.
Yeah,
I love the time caps. If you get to time capsule episode and you're like, this might be a little too dark for me, I'd understand. The time capsule episode is dark. We're having a lot of fun recording it. We just recorded another one. We're going to release them, hopefully be weekly is what we're going for.
The most recent episode I loved because it was you and your roommate who, are improv comics, and then your parents who are definitely not improv comics.
Are you saying Bob Bacon coming in and just yelling like, "Oh my God"? They're really fun. Oh man, yeah. My parents were over and we're like, "Let's record a podcast."
It's so fun. That episode's so funny because you can tell how out of their element they are, and you guys are still trying to tell like the narrative framework that you've built, but they are so lost in what you're talking about.
They didn't care.
Your mom just left. She says nothing. She just chuckles in the background the whole time.
She didn't want to do it, and my dad was like drinking during the whole thing. He like hears glass with the ice, and then during half of it he's taking photos of all the equipment and like looking around. And I'm like, this podcast is garbage. I can't even get my parents to listen to it, and they're on it right now.
That is a perfect lead-in to Return to Horror High, a movie that, I mean, really, I saw it all the time in the horror section, but after watching it, it firmly belonged in the comedy section with just a dash of horror. But what's impressive is that, like we've talked about on this show, horror comedy is a really hard thing to juggle, but they actually have a higher success rate than I expected this movie to actually have.
I mean, did they?
Oh, are you going to be negative Nancy forever now?
I'm not going to say the jokes didn't work, but it was like, hey, you want to see me juggle this horror ball and this comedy ball? Here, I'm going to put the horror ball down and I'm going to throw this comedy ball up and down. I did.
I mean, I feel like that's the best way to explain it at all. I didn't get scared one time.
It even opens the opening scene has a line of dialogue that I feel like really sets the tone for the whole movie. And he's like, there were 7, and then somebody behind him was just like, or 8. He's like, or 8 corpses out there.
That made me laugh.
There we go. See, Brian, you had a good time.
But yeah, the whole movie's setup is that you're being told in flashbacks what happened at a crime scene where they were making a movie about murders while people were being murdered. And it gets really fucking meta about like the sleaziness of the horror biz a lot in this movie.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like full disclosure, I was expecting to think this movie was garbage, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's like really fun, and it was really self-aware in a not annoying way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the first half. The first 2/3 maybe.
Maybe I just watch a lot more bullshit than you. Like I know that we watch a lot of bullshit for the show, but I mean, like, I also do it for fun. So I think maybe I'm just used to. I have a lower bar. My expectations are so low that I was like, yeah, this is good.
I think you just accepted the fact what our podcast is about and the movies we watch, and I sit down and I watch something and it's over and I'm like, that wasn't Hereditary. And I get super
But see, that's the thing is I've been doing this with your brother for over 7 years. You have been doing it with us for 2. So,
Yeah, you'll give it 5 more years and you'll be like, that was amazing.
Yeah, because
but this is okay. So Donkey, this is like
his name's Bacon.
Sorry, Bacon. As soon as I said it, I was
Donkey.
like Donkey Bacon. Matt, edit me so I don't sound stupid, please.
No, that's totally fine. We do podcast. We do. One of the reasons why the podcast is called 91 Donkey Lane is because our group of friends is called the Donkeys from like an improv group. So if you calling me Donkey Bacon is actually normal.
Okay, well, I was actually just going to be referring to you as Donkey because I heard you have a massive penis.
Okay. And giant teeth. It's mostly the giant teeth.
How much for a tooth job?
Exactly. Oh, I give the best tooth jobs.
Oh man, I don't even know where I was going with that before I misspoke.
Well,
anyway.
I can tell that you guys watch a lot of nonsense because we didn't even talk about like the very first thing that happens, which is a scroll that goes by that doesn't seem to explain what we're watching.
Well, to be fair, so we're talking about 91 Donkey Lane, but prior to this, Bacon watched every single movie that Adam Sandler has ever been in for his podcast, Adam Sandler, Please Stop.
Oh,
So
that was you?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So you might have a higher tolerance than this shit than us because we've never watched Jack or Jill or That's My Boy. So.
Oh, Jesus.
But I did just last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I did watch Shakes the Clown. So
Shakes the Clown.
I can kind of relate to you, Bacon.
Shakes the Clown is actually really good in the Adam Sandler canon.
So Brian's like, oh, I did watch that. Dude was trying to get us to have the Patreon people pick that like 3 months ago.
Listen, I know I am in a minority, at least in my group of friends, but I love Bobcat's movies. I haven't seen the Sasquatch one, but World's Greatest Dad, Shakes the Clown, and God Bless America, I thoroughly enjoyed all 3 of them.
They're really, really like dark comedy with
Wait, God
a
Bless
really
America
weird take.
is a Bobcat Goldthwait movie?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And he did
does
one horror
weird
comedy
shit.
that I haven't seen, weirdly enough. That's the only one I haven't seen.
Willow Creek is all right. It's
that's
Willow
the
Creek,
the Sasquatch one, right?
the Sasquatch one.
Yeah.
That one's funny because he decided to make a parody of found footage movies, but he's never actually watched a found footage movie. So it's just a parody on what he thinks found footage movies are.
That's what I thought this was, because this movie was set up like I thought it was like, didn't it say something about like this is the footage that they found?
Yeah, something like that.
But there's no fucking footage. Like
This isn't footage. Is somebody shooting a movie behind the movie that we don't know about? Like, I don't know. I wasn't on board for that, and I was kind of annoyed. And George Clooney was like a hunk, so I'm like, all right, maybe. And then I have this note.
First to die.
Yeah, and then I have this note: exploding boobs.
Boob, yeah.
Yes.
I'm all in.
No exploding tit shot. I've said it 1,000 times.
Yeah. But then the best part is he goes, at least let me tear the nipple off. And the woman is standing there topless, and they go, I think it's the director goes, are those real? And she goes, nope. And the guy's like, oh no, I made them. Those are her real boobs.
Those are 100% her real boobs. Those are real breasts.
And they're awesome. But like that's not what I'm getting at. I'm getting at the fact that even that's a joke.
Yeah, no,
those are her fake boobs, but they were just her real boobs.
Yeah.
Well, and that's there's another like boob joke in this movie that I actually think is really, really funny. Is the main female lead? They keep trying to force her to show her breasts.
Yeah.
And there's the one scene where it's like leading up to a rape scene, and all of a sudden the producer's head pops into the corner. He's like, "Are the boobs in shot? Make sure the boobs are in shot." And she like yells at him, and she's like, "What are you going to do next? Try to ice my nipples?" And right as she says that, there's a guy with a bucket of ice. He turns around.
That guy, like whatever the bits they did with that guy were the best. He was so funny.
Is that the special effects dude?
Yeah.
Him and the producer. The producer is such like the classic. Like he's like
He's
the,
the
Get it in the
Foreman.
shot toots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, her boobs in there. Get her boobs in there. Yeah. Shove her tits up in there. Get them in the shot. Yeah. I kind of wanted him to play it like he was such a sleazeball. It was like a little too realistic. I wanted him to play it even more sleazeball. So
I don't think that they could have gotten away with that. Like, you know.
they'd be like, "Oh, that's not realistic." I'd be like, "Well, now we know that it is very realistic."
Yeah, we didn't want like a yeah. Anyway, so I didn't want to make it too topical. That's the real terror of being on this show ever is like
it's the real horror of horror movie night.
yeah, it's just like we
juggling
don't
real life horror all the time.
yeah, and we don't want to offend any incels.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, there's like you said, there's just so many good meta lines. There's the other line I have written down. It's like, tomorrow you have to blow her brains out in Technicolor.
Yeah. Oh no, he doesn't say blow her brains out. I think he says bang her brains because
bang her.
I wrote that down. Son of a bitch. But like, so yeah, tomorrow you're gonna have to ball her brains out in Technicolor.
Gotcha.
And then they're talking to Milo or whatever the fuck the Amos. What was the name of the janitor?
Oh yeah, Amos.
And
Oh.
he's like, I'm gonna go do some of them pussy films. And I'm like, that's not what we call them.
Oh my God, it's
Should I stop calling them that?
You do.
Ideally, yes.
I took a lot from this movie. I like to call them pussy films. I pretend to be like that quarterback guy who just yells like, "Hey, beautiful, I'm talking to you."
So I do like this one line where I think it's when she's yelling at the guy, the guy who's supposed to rape her or something, and
Supposed to.
Yeah, you know,
in the movie.
it's handled so, but I kind of agree with Bacon's reaction because it's handled so like, it's just a rape scene. Like,
Yeah.
it's just very,
Well,
it's
I
such
think
an
that's
uncomfortable
supposed-
scene until it's revealed to be in a movie. Like,
I was super uncomfortable watching it. I was like, this isn't, is this, no. Yeah. But the thing is that I like that it's making a commentary about how rape is so blasé in horror and
Yeah.
schlock because it's all the time. And we have to actively not pick movies for this show because of that, because it's like, we're not trying to glorify.
yeah, you don't want to like support that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
But this movie, none of the characters act like humans at any point in this movie.
Mhm.
Even the police, who like, this
can we
whole-
talk about the female policewoman?
Oh my
when
god!
she seductively describes sliding across the floor?
And she goes into the school, comes back out with blood on her breasts and her shirt open. I'm like, you were what? What?
It's so weird because like, if she was part of the quote unquote
I was
like
expecting
gotcha,
her to be,
because
but
it
she
doesn't
wasn't.
make any sense otherwise. It makes no sense. Especially, so here's the funniest thing though, is really, if you think about everything in the movie, 75% of this movie is just made up bullshit is what it
Oh,
turns out to be.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you're like, this is fucking ridiculous. And then at the end, it's like, yeah, we just made up a story to get the cops here because it'll be great press for our movie. And it's like, oh, so none of that happens.
Wait,
Like,
Yeah.
no. There were real killings.
no, everyone was alive. They all got up.
No, I'm saying that the
They
Oh, no, no,
solved
the
the
mur-
case, like the
yeah.
mystery team.
Yeah, they solved the mystery, but the movie that we watched was not about the original murders.
no, but then he's like, Dad?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that twist.
That
Oh,
twist
God.
is so fucking dumb. Like, I think that they're making fun of the twists in horror movies, and I
hope so, yeah.
respect that. But at the same time, I was like, this is so fucking stupid.
So we got to talk about, if we're already talking about the ending just a bit, if we're dipping into that scene for a second, the hardest I laughed in this entire movie is they reveal that the killer originally was the principal, who was also wearing a mask to be the janitor, which is insane.
Yeah.
But he's
Oh my
threatening.
God.
He's threatening to kill the female lead, and the male lead's like, I mean, I'm just gonna go. And he starts to walk away, and the killer goes, you can't do that.
I love that scene so much.
It's so unexpected because you're just, for a second, you're like, I mean, nothing's stopping him, I guess.
And he's like, I'll kill her. And he's like, she doesn't like football.
The movie's so stupid that sometimes it gets you with its when it does something really, really smart, like the face reveal scene.
That is not smart. That's Scooby-Doo.
It's great. I thought it was. It seemed smart comparatively to the other garbage. It was. I really, really liked that part. It reminded me, that scene and what is it? The first Mission Impossible, where the bad guy has a giant mask on. Basically the same scene to me. Same great special effects.
We need to talk about the song when the teacher is getting autopsied, right?
Yeah, that scene is kind of dope, but like weird at the same time.
I hate the mask. The mask is stupid as hell. But that song is called "Meet Your Teacher" or something like that, and it's by Pleasant Company.
That's
the opposite. To be confused with Bad Company.
But like, think about that. Somebody was like, "Yes, I should name my band Pleasant Company."
Who came first, the pleasant or the bad? That's what I want to know.
Well, Bad
in this
Company,
world of companies.
Pleasant Company sometimes turns to Bad Company.
Oh yes, do
let's
they ever?
Let's
like
walk
when it's
past
midday
this.
and you want to go to bed and they won't leave, they won't take the hint, and you're like, "Hey, listen, I'm going to bed," but they still hang out in your living room. That's when Pleasant Company turns to Bad Company.
There we go.
Crack the code, Brian.
I've lived it too many times.
No.
Honestly, anytime someone comes to my house, they're Bad Company.
Yeah. And it's always a good idea theoretically.
Yeah, you're like,
I'm not doing anything. You should totally come over. And then they come over. It's like, oh.
You're just waiting for them to leave. I want to tell you guys a little story. So, Bacon, when we tell stories on this show, we don't say the last names because Brian. It's Brian's fault because he comes on guns blazing to be like, "Yeah, Joe Smith who pushed me down in first grade. Fuck you." And Matt's like, "You can't say last names when you talk." But there was this guy that I grew up with, David, and he was a weirdo, weirder than me. And one time he came over to my house unexpectedly, and we were just. I think that our moms were talking because we were both in Boy Scouts or some shit. And we were playing outside while our parents talked. And then his mom's like, "All right, David, time to go." And he was like, "No, Mom, I'm staying for the rest of the day." It was 10 a.m. And I looked at my mom just horrified. And his mom saw me make that look. And she's like, "David, I think that they're busy. We'll have to play some other time." And he was like, "Oh, man." And, he was exactly like Charlie Brown.
I have the exact same story, except for I'm that kid.
With no spatial awareness.
With none. To be like, I'm staying forever here.
Yeah. No, I'm with Bacon. In retrospect, I look back and I'm like, man, God bless the kids in elementary school that just
let you hang out.
Buckled and let me have sleepovers because we had nothing to talk about. I should have known when he's like, "Hey, it'd be really fun is if we both just sat in corners and read these Calvin and Hobbes comics quietly to ourselves."
No. That's the saddest thing in the world.
I was like, "Yay, love Calvin and Hobbes."
Oh my God. That's so sad.
Childhood drama.
And that's why we do comedy. All right. So do we have any other final thoughts on Return to Horror High beyond like, hey, listeners, you should check it out?
I was going to say, I think George Clooney literally just his part in the movie was just a real life what happened. Like he
just was like, "I quit."
Yeah, he got on this movie, he got something else, and they're like, "Ooh, let's just write that in." And he's like, "Fuck you guys, I'm out of here. This place sucks," basically. And then he gets killed immediately.
So I own this movie on a double feature DVD that's just 2 movies starring George Clooney that were his like early horror films, and they both start with Return. It was Return to Horror High and Return of the Killer Tomatoes. And they came out at the same time, so maybe he was like, Return to Horror High, I'm going to get some of that Killer Tomatoes cash. Like,
God.
and with that, we'll jump into what are our double features. So Bacon, I'll let you start as the guest.
Cool. Well, this one's really hard because I found it really funny at some points and boring at other points. I feel like the obvious double feature choice on this one would be going with Cabin in the Woods, another movie that deconstructs the horror genre, obviously. But I'm sure everyone has seen that one. But if
There's
you're kind of
nothing
going
wrong with it being something people have seen, though. Like,
Yeah.
it basically
Sometimes you need a palate cleanser.
Yeah, if you're trying to save the night after like the mistake of watching Return to Horror High with a group of people, then that's what you can do.
Oh, that's okay. So that's the best way I'll say. I'll say if you're trying to save your night, watch Cabin in the Woods. But if you're like, you know what? I've already made a mistake and I want to make it even worse, then I would watch Bad Taste.
Okay.
Because that is another movie that, I don't know, just kind of had a same feeling sometimes. Except for way better. Bad Taste, from what I remember, has way better kills.
Well,
yeah.
Bad Taste.
No, 100%. The kills in this are pretty weak sauce.
Yeah.
But I don't think that you're watching this movie for the kills since they don't mean anything. They don't matter because they didn't even happen. Although, did we talk about we didn't talk about that propeller kill?
Yeah, but it cuts away.
Because he didn't really get killed. But the funny thing about that is that I'm pretty sure that I could have just done like a sit up, grabbed the thing that was wrapped around my leg and like hoist myself up higher than the propeller. I don't think that would have been an actual.
I don't know. Next time we're all hanging out, let's test that theory.
Hang it. Oh, yeah, you're fucking funny.
I think so I actually have 2 double features in my brain.
Pick one because I know you're only gonna take mine.
No, I'm gonna pick one, and then if no one takes the other one, I'll say what it was. But I was really torn between 2 movies, and I'm gonna go with the trauma film that feels the most like this. Okay, and I'll go with the other one.
No, just pick it. I'll pick another one.
No, it's fine. So Brian will have that one. I'm gonna go with the other like horror comedy around this time period that also is better than it has any right to be. Student Bodies, which we've done on this show.
That wouldn't make my night better though. I actually think I liked Return to Horror High better than Student Bodies.
It's a better made movie across the board, but Student Bodies has like those jokes that are so dumb, like the fact that the killer who's sneaking up on people breathes extremely heavily and has squeaky shoes the whole time is very funny. All right, Brian, go for it.
No, I want to take Brian's.
So, as you guys can probably guess, I'm going to go with the trauma film that feels most like this. Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. It's Terra Firma. I would go with Terra Firma.
Which Terra Firma Terra Firma is weird because I think it's the best trauma movie, but I also think that you have to watch all of the other trauma movies for it to make even a little bit of sense.
Well, I mean, honestly, the best trauma movie, if we're talking like actually good movies, it is Toxic Adventure because it's the most normal movie I feel like that they've ever done.
Most cohesive storyline. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What about Nukem High?
But Cannibal the Musical is the funniest trauma movie, but it barely counts as a trauma movie.
I love Cannibal the Musical. I probably would put that above Toxic Avenger.
All right, Scott, what's your double feature?
I was just trying to buy time because I don't feel like my double feature is good. But so, if I'm trying to do something that's stylistically, the movie that comes to mind. Okay, say I sit down and I don't expect to do a double feature. I'm by myself, and I watch Return to Horror High. And then I'm like, you know what that reminded me of? I should probably watch Destroyer from 1988.
I was going to say it should be Destroyer. That was on my list of picks, but I was like, I think when I did
Destroyer's not a good movie, though.
Well, also, I think when we did Destroyer, my double feature was Return to Horror High, so I was like, well, I can't do that.
Oh, well, that would actually be funny because then it'd just be, paralleling the But
all right.
but what if I wanted to do a good movie to like make up for the bad? I don't. What would like I'm maybe like Prom Night 2. It's not meta, but it's in a high school and I love it.
I mean, listen, we've made double features out of worse. I think didn't Brian like just recently double feature Frozen with something?
I also did Citizen Kane.
You son of a bitch. All right, so before we wrap up, what are some things that you watched recently or whatever that you loved? I'll knock one out real quick because it's pretty simple. Last night I went and saw Five Iron Frenzy.
Oh, yeah.
First time in like 12 years. And I gotta say that they are still one of the funniest bands I've ever seen live. The place that they were playing at was this church basement that's like a pretty famous like punk rock venue in Philadelphia. I think next week Mr. T Experience and the Queers are playing there.
Whoa.
But it was really, really fucking hot in this basement. And so they came in from their van with cases of water, and then each band member took a bottle of water, and then they just started passing all the cases around the venue so that everyone could hydrate before the set, which I thought was like, I've never seen a band do that before. That was pretty cool. But the lead singer, Reese, lives in Virginia now as a nurse, and he kept proposing because he was getting really like hot and overheated in this basement. He's like, guys, look, I know that this sounds insane, but I want to propose something because as a medical professional, it is very dangerous for all of us to be in this basement right now. What if we stop the set? We go outside where it's cold for like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. You can meet us. We'll sign things for you. And then everyone just, remember where you stood previously, and we'll all come back in here and finish the rest of the show.
Did they do it?
No, like the rest of the band was like, we're not doing that. And he like literally at one point got off the stage and like was like, come on, everybody. And he like charged outside.
Well, that sounds like you as the lead singer of a band.
Yeah, it was very like Frank the Tank getting everyone to go streaking though. Like he like left and everyone stayed. It was such like a fun, goofy show. They're such just a delight to watch live, and they clearly just cannot. They love each other, but can't stand each other like an actual family, which is, sweet in a way. Because, man, they shit on each other a whole lot on that stage. Anyway, that's my thing. So Five Iron Frenzy is great. Go check out their newest album, which is 8 years old at this point. But it's a really good, really solid album. Engine of a Million, I think it's Engine of a Million Minds. It is kind of a really strange record because, Fire and Frenzy was probably the biggest Christian ska band, but now like half of the members are atheists and the other half are still like religious and youth pastors, and they all wrote the album together. So the album has this very honest like questioning of life. Like they kind of strayed away from the God stuff and focus more on just like real life stuff. So it's got, a good track to get an idea of if you would like it or not is the first single was The Art and Zen of Xenophobia. All about how bad America had gotten with racism and hatred and stuff, and that was 8 years ago. So
yeah, it's only gotten
better.
Yeah, so that and that video is fairly funny because it's just a school play about history, but in it Abe Lincoln's like busting out AKs and having like Wolverine knives, and it's just about how somehow we've created this American history where it's just like, yeah, blood.
Did you say Abe Lincoln?
No, I said, hey, Blinken.
Dude, we already did that episode. Come on.
All right, I'm done. Who else has something to promote?
I think you did enough for all of us. I mean,
No,
I was
trying to wait my turn, but
Also, 91 Donkey Lane.
Yes. Is it time to talk about that?
Sure. I mean,
we'll talk about if you have something that you watched or read or listened to or experienced that you want to talk about first. But
sure,
we'll do the spiel too.
Before we get, I got. I recently, like everybody else, saw the Joker, or just Joker. I really enjoyed that movie, but it got me into everyone's like, hey, if you like that movie, you'll really like King of Comedy. The King of Comedy, a Martin Scorsese movie, one of the few that I just never saw. And I sat down and I watched that one, and I loved that. So if you haven't seen The King of Comedy by Martin Scorsese, highly recommend it. Really, really well shot, still holds up. Great pacing, very uncomfortable to watch. So if you're not into like kind of like cringy moments, I would say definitely skip it. But if you liked the Joker, or even if you hated the Joker, I'd say you would love The King of Comedy.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. King of Comedy is so good. I was just talking to Matt about it, how I really like the Joker. It's compared to King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. I personally think Taxi Driver is not as great as it's made out to be. I know it's a very important film. I didn't enjoy it that much, but I love King of Comedy.
We were talking about how we think it's kind of low-key Martin Scorsese's best film. Like no one talks about it, but it is probably his most accessible and well-made film.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Definitely. So I definitely say check that one. Check that out. Yeah. And I'll save the promo for later or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian?
I didn't do much, man. I saw the Joker, which we talked about.
I mean, did we? Bacon mentioned he saw it, and you said I saw it too. I don't know if we really talked about it.
That's the in-depth analyst that we need.
I'm the last person to give my opinion about it because I don't like comic book movies. But I will say if every comic book movie was like that, I would love comic book movies.
Yeah,
it was
it's not
very
a
dark
comic book
and
movie,
gritty.
dude.
Yeah. It's very dark, very gritty. I was like, I love character pieces, and like people were complaining about it being too boring. And I love I love how Todd Phillips like stood up for himself with like all the people attacking him. And it was like, you guys are like shitting on me when, spoiler alert, 3 people are killed in this movie, and then praising John Wick where like 10 people are killed within the first 10 minutes of the movie. So like, who's glorifying violence,
I thought the way that they handled violence was perfect. It was like more real and sudden and shocking and not glorified. Yeah. We glorify all kinds of horrible things. And I feel like, I don't know. I had a tweet, and then I hate quoting tweets because it's the dumbest thing in the world. But watching it and then hearing people being upset about it, like was like, oh, this movie's like promoting like that kind of lifestyle and incels and stuff like that. And I'm like, if you watch that, then you're probably the kind of person who watched Fight Club and thought that it was promoting fight clubs.
But that's the thing, is the incels are the people that think that Fight Club is like,
so it does promote into them. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I made this argument because I like the movie so much. I just wish it wasn't a Joker movie. Like that's like where my mindset keeps falling.
You don't like the fact that it's in the DC universe.
Well, it's two things, because it's like my problem is, as someone who goes to a lot of comic book conventions, and like people who idolize Joker are already bad enough. And then it's like, oh God, you made him even more relatable to these people that are already bad enough dressing up like the Joker. So like, I'm just seeing it as a way it's going to affect me as a human being just trying to enjoy a comic book convention. But yeah, my only big complaint was like I was like tied into the reality, and then they would mention like Gotham or Arkham Asylum, and I'd be like, oh, that's right, it's a comic book.
It just feels like it's kind of pandering though, right?
Yeah, I almost wish that they had just kept referring to it as the city and like not saying Gotham, because it like every time they said it for just a couple seconds, I was like pulled out of how realistic the movie was, because I'm like, Gotham's not a place.
It was really funny. Me and Matt were talking about it because we actually had 2 different mindsets in the movie. Like I was sucked into the fact that it was a comic movie in a sense, where it's just like, all right, this is the Joker, and then anytime some violence happened, I was just like, oh fuck, like it just completely pulled me out of like this, like, oh yeah, it's a comic book movie, it's going to be like the Dark Knight, maybe a pencil in the eye, but that's about it.
No, it was. I really like that. I really like Logan as well, of being like super ultra violent comic book movies.
Yeah, I wanted to see Logan. I could probably watch it now, but my barber loves to be like, my barber, as soon as I sit in the chair, he's like, did you see this? Oh, yeah, dead at the end. All right. All
right, Scott, you're last up.
All right. So I have a couple things to talk about. One, I finally started watching Creepshow on Shudder.
How is it?
Oh, it's... Dude, oh my God, I love it.
Okay, so I'll actually watch it.
So my friend Chris, who is a listener of the show, we were at a wedding on Friday and hanging out, and he said, "So have you started watching Creep Show yet?" And I'm like, "No, I was gonna wait, and then I was gonna binge it after the couple episodes out." He's like, "Oh, they're like 3 or 4 out already." And so I said, "Okay." And I'm working on a new mask, and so I sat down with my Monster Clay and I started watching Creep Show with it. And the very first segment is Gray Matter, Stephen King short story, right?
Okay.
And I'm not sure if every story is going to be a Stephen King short story, because I don't know if that's really like sustainable, because he's done a lot of short stories, but he's also had a lot of adaptations already. Adaptions. Yeah. But Gray Matter is one of my favorite Stephen King short stories, and they killed it. It's goopy as hell, so of course I'm all about it. And so I've been thinking about it for 2 days now, and I can't wait to watch more and sit down and probably bust out some more today after we're done. But that was really good, and we watched The Love Witch finally, because I started watching it a while back and then I stopped it because I was like, Megan needs to watch this with me. So every once in a while there'll be something spooky that she really wants to watch, and so
like Monster House.
That shtick I love. Donkey Lane shtick.
They secretly are also a weekly Monster House podcast as well.
Where we watch Monster House every week.
Anyway, and then we have a Halloween tradition, and every Halloween, Megan and I read my first edition copy of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving, because I had a metal band called Ichabod Crane for 10 years, and I love The Legends of Sleepy Hollow, and that was like the first big gift that she ever gave me, was this first edition pressing of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So that's kind of our spooky tradition.
Oh, I never knew that. I actually rewatched that cartoon again for Halloween, and that cartoon is still fantastic. But
it's
Bacon.
It's a double feature.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and skip Mr. Toad right into Ichabod Crane. So Bacon, tell us one more time where people can go and check out 91 Donkey Lane for all that funny riffing.
You can find it if you just go to 91donkeylane.com. That's the site that has some stuff, like all our information. But if you just search us, we're on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, all that fun stuff. And we're on Twitter. I think we're like either just at Donkey Lane, I think is our Twitter handle. If you're in the Boston area, I'm going to be performing this Friday. When's this show coming out?
This comes out a month from now.
Never mind. You could have seen a kerfuffle. Forget it.
Do you have a show that's going to be dropping around that, or happening around the time this comes out?
No, but I can just tell you guys what I did during the show now, because no one's going to see it. You're already hearing this, or this part will get cut out. I don't know. Bonus content. I'm going to do, so it's a thing where everybody comes on with their own sketch ideas. You like submit a sketch idea and you get put on or whatever. And it's a really, really fun thing here. And mine is really, really dumb. It's called Forrest Hump. And it's Tom Hanks night at a strip club, and I come out as Forrest Gump. And at first you just think I'm going to be doing normal, like, dumb dancing and stripping. But we have a bunch of them, like Blast Away, Sex Toy Story, Big.
Oh my God.
So the DJ, like, before I come out, he says, like, the DJ goes through all these names of, like, basically every Tom Hanks movie, but in a porn pun kind of. And then I come out, I dance, and to a girl in the audience, I make her my Jenny, and the music cuts out, and then I slowly strip to the monologue that he says at her gravestone. You died on a Saturday morning. And I had you placed underneath our tree. And I'm just going to slowly strip. So that's what you missed, you guys. If you...
I am buying a fucking plane ticket. I don't
All
care
right.
what you look like. That
Also,
is-
I don't even. Oh, dude, I'm not in good shape. I'm not. I'm not comfortable taking my shirt off on stage. I'm going to.
Are you the kind of kid who wears a shirt?
Swam in a shirt.
Oh, I 100% swam in a shirt when I was little.
So did
Growing
Matt.
up in LA, I was such a little porker. I was so fat. Oh my god, I was a giant. I was like so much bigger than all the other kids, and I'd wear a shirt in the pool.
I know this episode is running long, but just so Scott has some type of visual understanding of the awkwardness of you, because I finally got to meet you a couple of months ago. Like, first of all, Bacon is gigantic. Like, he's like at least a foot taller than me.
And you're tall as shit.
Yeah. But Bacon, how about you tell Scott how you get around Boston with this amazing thing that you purchased for yourself?
I recently purchased and have fallen off of several times a one wheel. It is like a skateboard, but it has one big wheel in the middle, and it self balances, and you kind of like skateboard / snowboard around on this one wheel thing. It's amazing, and it makes me even taller and weirder.
But
I thought you were gonna say you were on a Segway, and I was like, oh.
no, well,
I'm not a
because didn't you
loser.
say you
Come
couldn't?
on.
You had to get like, if I remember correctly, the reason you landed on this one wheel was because you're so tall that you had to pay for like a specialty bike to be made if you were going to bike around.
Yes. I was looking around of like electric bikes, like something where I can get to work and not be sweaty, because the public transit around here is really difficult, and driving is awful as well. And I came on this because it was the one that could like handle my weight. You could handle 260.
Pure muscle.
Just thickness.
Oh, they don't call you big for nothing.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bacon, for joining us. We will definitely have to have you back on some other time.
Oh my
we'll make you
God.
watch something so much worse than this.
Yeah, you guys, I could handle way worse than this movie, because this movie wasn't bad at all. I enjoyed several parts of it, and I very much enjoyed my time on the show.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, tune in next week to see the movie that I almost made Bacon watch that was picked by Brian. Continue to give us rates and reviews and all that good stuff on all of the podcasting apps that we're available at, and you can find us on all social media at HMN Podcast. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.